so good.
Yeah.
It's hard
So
work.
professional.
Took a lot of hard work.
The cameras are amazing.
Oh.
Okay. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to 180 Podcast. Oh my goodness, we're back with another episode. How you doing, Tara?
I'm doing well. How are you, Ellie?
Oh, I'm doing great. Now, before we start, make sure to like us on all platforms, no matter where you're at. Like on YouTube, give us the subscribe button and the like button, right? And then wherever you're at, like on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, just do the equivalent of that. So the hearts, we love you guys. But yeah, thank you for joining us. Oh, hi, Kevin. So yeah, we're just chilling.
And we are so excited today to be talking about this book, Lucifer's Zenith. You can find it on Amazon. It is incredible. It's written by Daniel Mercury, who's actually he's running for governor against Newsom. So this book is amazing. It's going to be our main topic today, which is fantastic. And without further ado, let's introduce our special guest today.
Hi.
Hi. You are a returning guest, but for those who haven't watched that video, which we do encourage you to go watch that video again. Why don't you just introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. Hi, I'm Karen Sheperd. I'm an actress and a martial arts champion celebrity. And I'm also here to discuss this book. Helping Daniel Mercury with public relations, and he's busy campaigning early for 2026. He's got numerous speaking engagements, and so I'm here to dive into this and unpack this with you, because I don't know about you, but I could not put this book down. Every single page, one after another, is like jaw-droppingly, what? You cannot wait to get through it. It's just incredible. So I thank you for having me. No, I really am very grateful for it, because it's a wonderful opportunity to share the truth. And I just like being with you guys.
Yes, that's we love to have you back on. So thank you so much. It sounds like this book is definitely a page turner.
Well, it's great. So Karen has read it multiple times. I'm on page 73. She's got more time in her hands than I do. But I got to tell you, it is an absolute page turner. Every time I pick it up, I cannot stop reading it until one of my kids pulls me away into something else. Literally, there's so much meat, and there's just so. I mean,
well, do you want to start by doing something, a little tradition we're starting before we get into all the meaty stuff?
Absolutely, yes, yes.
Okay. So, we're gonna have the video coming out. We did have one with a guy named Nathan Hochman. He's running for district attorney here in Los Angeles. We had a great time to just discuss his plans, really what he wants to do. That's something that we love to find out, what somebody wants to do. But we had a new tradition that we want to start with him, starting after him, and that's doing something with boba. Okay, and we're just introducing people, because surprisingly, not a lot of people know about boba. I love it so much.
I never knew.
I love it.
I never knew. So what we do we'll be teaching Karen how to do the boba thing. So what you do is you take out your straw.
Okay.
And while she's taking out her straw, Ellie, you might want to center yourself a little bit more.
Okay.
We'll see. It might be a mirror.
We'll check.
Sometimes it's the mirror effect.
Straw
and then
down.
you just punch it,
Oh.
hopefully without
Down the
making a
middle.
mess, right into the, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Ooh.
There you go.
Oh, and that is the art of boba.
It's got chewy things.
That's boba.
What are those? Is that like a berry?
No, it's like sugary.
It's candy.
Rice ball dough.
Wow.
So boba is tapioca.
That's a party in the mouth.
So it's tapioca pearls, and it's really cool. It's made with brown sugar, and it's a really cool little mix. I think yours is both like a classic, so it's just like a regular milk tea, and that's really good. Mine's a honey lavender, because that one's really good. Yeah.
It is good. It's
It is
really
good.
different.
Someone
It
in the
is
comment
like a little
boba.
adventurous. Yes. That's great. Okay, I love this. This is amazing.
And they're so big.
Yeah. That's the regular size. All right. So jumping back into our fascinating topic today. So, Karen, can you tell us about the author, Daniel Mercury?
Yes. Daniel R. Mercury is he's a Navy dishonorably discharged naval veteran. He's a family man. He's got 3 children. He's a very godly man. He's an amazing man. He's so brilliant. He's so smart. He just blows my mind. But he has been running for office because he cares and he wants to make a difference. And he started in 2019 in a congressional recall special election, and then he ran for governor in the recall and in the last regular general election. And he, by the end of 2026, he will have been running for 7 years. So he's amassed an amazing amount of experience and personal witness to corrupt government, really how corrupt our political system is. And he's come across so many people with sharing the same kind of like grievances, like why is everything falling on deaf ears? Why can't we get anything changed in California? What's going to happen? Well, he dove into research. I mean, for these past years, his whole goal is not like, well, I'm going to be governor. It's not about that. It's not about that kind of power trip at all. His mission is to share the information that he has amassed in this book through deep dive research. And I mean, he was given a great honor by being called the most constitutional candidate because he knows the federal constitution very well and is the only person that I know who has studied the California state constitution, which is, if you can get your hands on that, is pretty daunting. But he's an expert on both constitutions and where we've gone wrong, what happened, and how things became corrupt. And each page will, like I said, blow your mind.
Now, it does sound like he is credible to talk about this then.
Oh, incredibly. It's all personal experience. And as he says in his book, test the information for yourself. Do your own homework. Iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah. So
test the spirit of the information for yourself. Don't believe anything. Everything that he has put into this book is literally his blood, sweat, and tears. He literally bled for this country. The research he did to write this book is just mind-blowing. I don't know any author that has done this much research. And it's backed up in, resources. He backs everything up, and it's all biblically aligned to biblical prophecy. What's happening, all of the craziness going around us, it's all in the book, and it's all aligned according to biblical prophecy, which proves that, it's, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you go and take it upon yourself to read this book, I'm going to tell you, you're going to need one of these to go with it, okay? This is one of his biggest sources other than the Bible in this book. It's the Constitution. So he references it. Oh my goodness, it feels like every other page. I'm learning a ton about our Constitution that I didn't even think about before.
And the Declaration of Independence, which is really key.
Yes, absolutely. Well, why is this book so important? There's 3 main things that if you could point on why, let's say the top 3, why is this book so important?
Well, if I had to pick top 3, first, right off the bat, a lot of people don't understand even what a republic versus a democracy is. A lot of people think we are a democracy. That is far from the truth. Our founding fathers thought that was repugnant. We are a republic, and for those who don't know the difference, do you think people know? Should we tell them?
I think it'd be good to tell them. You never know.
You know what? Yeah, and that's something that I've seen from when I've seen both political sides of the aisle. They both mention America as a democracy,
Then
which is incorrect.
you should turn around and walk away because we are not. A democracy is, where like
the people govern themselves, right?
well, yeah, but it's like an elect group vote for them.
Yeah.
So you really, they don't have freedom.
Yeah.
But a republic, we the people have the voice. We have the control. We are the electorate. We have the say of the rule over all of us equally.
Yes.
As opposed to a democracy, which is like for some people and not for some people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a miscommunication that has to be cleared up all the time. I mean, even just working with the youth that I work in at the Turning Point chapter that I lead, we were sitting there describing, the factions to them in the Electoral College and how if this country were truly a democracy, you'd have, it's a bunch of it's a bunch of wolves going after sheeps. You'd have to think about it like that because people in Washington, their numbers don't match New York. Their numbers don't match California or Texas. So their perspective, even though they're in a completely different environment, physically and, city-wise, their perspective will not be seen. It will not be taken into account. And that's why we have the Electoral College, and that's why our country is a republic. So I think that's a misconception that is really needs to be handled just face on. And I think if you go up to most people, they don't even know what the Constitution is. They couldn't tell you what it is. There's been videos on that.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And I was one of them for a long time. I jumped out there to go protest and march the streets of LA and carry signs and, listen to speakers. But I didn't know the Constitution and I didn't know the law. And I wouldn't be able to, I didn't know what I was talking about. I just knew that there was a lot of wrong going on.
Yeah.
And I did not want to lose my freedom.
Yeah.
But Mr. Mercury in this book lays out in very simplistic terms, easy to understand, and biblically aligned, what's gone wrong and why.
Yeah.
And he concludes with what we can do about it if we don't run out of time.
Yeah. And I'd like to dive in some of the specific things that he talks about. Early on in the book, he talks immediately about COVID. What was your perspective on what he's saying about COVID and how California really broke the law with COVID mandates?
Yeah, it was unconstitutional. The restrictions that were placed by Gavin Newsom were not constitutionally legal. Stay at home, stay safe, distancing, wear a mask.
Get vaccinated,
which is a whole nother subject. But everything falls back to the Declaration of Independence. So reading this book, it's about nature's law, God's law, our inalienable rights given to us by our Creator, endowed by the Creator. And that's what it says in the Declaration of Independence, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you read it for us? You have it right there.
Yes, I'll go right to the second paragraph because that's kind of what we're talking about, which is we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, unalienable means cannot be taken away no matter what, for any circumstances whatsoever. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness was where Newsom broke the law by imposing these lockdowns.
Yeah.
Now, endowed by their creator, so that's insinuating that there is a creator, a God, right? But oftentimes, many people think, well, you know, that America is not founded with Christian values, with Judeo-Christian values. What do you have to say for that?
I say, read the Declaration of Independence, read the Constitution. It's all in there, and I just read it. God's law, unalienable rights, those are God-given. And those are what the Founding Fathers meant for us to retain. But they're slowly being eroded away by many nefarious means. And that's kind of what this book exposes, and what we can do about it. When people don't know their rights, they don't have any rights. If they don't know the law, there is no law. Basically, that's a quote from the book, and everything falls back, like I said, to natural law. What I just read in that Declaration of Independence, and how they're trying to corrupt it. Now, you have to kind of, you got to get the book. You really just, everybody needs to read this book, because like you said, every page is a turner, and you cannot wait to get to the next. It's just jam-packed. I keep thinking, oh, I've hit the best chapter. No, it just, to the very end, just drops your jaw.
Now, you're talking about like how they're slowly eroding it, right? We always hear things like bad bills, or like just not necessarily representing it. Like the titles are usually not best representing what's inside of the proposed laws, right?
Right.
So talk to us about that.
So what Daniel Mercury says is that there's like a three-pronged attack. And the first one is to lower our intelligence, to like brainwash young minds, and to accept communism. Another way is to write misleading bills, to confound the language, to twist it, to make you think it means something else, but to change your perception. And that is to corrupt God's image, which we are, is his image. That's what we are. So to lower our intelligence by making us think, that these bills are something, then they're not. That's part of it.
And I know that, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was the CESA, right? That was basically what what Newsom used to justify the stay-at-home mandates, that you cannot work, you cannot leave, you cannot, the curfew laws imposed on adults, the mask laws, was from the, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was CESA is what it's called, capital CESA, and you can Google it, and it's basically an emergency act. Now, we often, or at least I do, I hear a lot about people bringing up the Spanish flu and say, no, this isn't the first time it's happened. Well, to say that is blatantly ignorant, because we are nowhere near where we were in 1919 when that happened. And correct me if I'm wrong, if I got the date wrong. But the technology that we have is completely different. And the government, the United States government, was frankly a lot less hands-on in 1910 era. Like, it's there were farm countries, and there was a lot more freedom, and it was a lot more relaxed government. So to compare the Spanish flu with COVID-19 is just blatantly ignorant. But I wanted to quote this one thing on page 54 from Lucifer Zenith, Daniel Mercury's book. So we have the book 16, Amjur 2D, section 98 states, he says that a lot. That's when he's referencing something. So that's gold right there. He gives a lot of sources. But it says, an emergency cannot, and no emergency justifies the violation of any of the provisions of the United States Constitution or states' constitutions. So this means no emergency has just cause to suppress the U.S. Constitution or state constitution. You may recall that the Wuhan COVID-19 virus was issued as a national emergency, and all states declared their own state's emergency. When the government ordered its people to stay home, they violated their oath because officials are not granted permission to control behavior. And I think that's really, I don't know, you guys can comment on this, but it really felt like COVID-19 was just something done to kind of break our habits of expecting freedom, you know? And again, that's why this book, Lucifer Zenith, is so important, because education is going to be our best friend through this whole thing.
Right, and that's only part of the puzzle. That's just part of the plan.
How so?
Yeah, so COVID was just like part of a much greater plan by elites to control us and enslave us and take away our freedoms. COVID was just part of it.
Well, I'll ask, what's another part that's very prevalent right now?
Well, what's happening with all these bills that are coming through? I mean, do you realize Newsom signed, I don't know how many thousands of bills? I mean, who has had time to sit down and read them, let alone understand what they are? Yeah. And he has signed so many of them into law, purposefully confounding us by changing the meanings of words. This has been going on now for years.
What are some examples of that you've seen recently of him doing that?
Well, of him, not really. Let's say to confound the laws by changing the meaning of what is in order to confuse you. Mm-hmm. So you don't understand. So you have a completely different perspective. There's prophetic proof of that. Daniel 7:5, page 38. All of these things that are happening, by the way, as I look for this, are in the Bible. There's prophetic proof for all of it.
You know, speaking of the Bible, this is another thing that I really...
Words matter.
Yes, they do. Absolutely. And this is another thing that I really wanted to talk to, because he does reference the Bible a lot, and he tells the story of God. Satan cannot lie to the Father. And it's proved in, let's see, Job, right? It's right. Job. Yeah, yes. Because it's basically, and this is one of the things that Daniel Mercury references is, Job, he's in question right now. God and Satan are talking about him, and he says, and by the way, this is on page 44 of Lucifer Zenith. So, and they're going back and forth, and Satan is saying, okay, I'm God, and then God says, well, this man Job, he's been good, he's been obedient, he will not question me. You cannot turn his back on me. He is true, he is faithful. And Satan goes, well, I can do it. And then so God allows him to. Now,
right, that's where the rules of engagement began with Job.
Yeah.
God allowing Satan to rule, but he has to show us what he's doing. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have to show us how he's going to do it. He cannot lie to God, but you see things that maybe aren't quite right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think Ellie, you mentioned a video you saw recently.
Yeah. I did want to get back to that, but I just wanted to go right back to what you were going to read.
I was going to read about the Bible quote about this second-pronged attack, which is changing the meaning of what is in order to confuse us. Mm-hmm. So the Bible quote is from Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. He shall speak words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and he shall think to change the times and the law, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and half a time. So it was prophesied that the laws would be changed.
Right.
And confounded, and that's what's happening. So that is one way.
And just to jump back into this, I just wanted to finish this point really quickly. So the Lord said to Satan, "From where do you come?" Then Satan answered the Lord and said, "From roaming about the earth and walking around it." So it's fascinating that Satan cannot lie to the Father, and that's really proved in this statement. And then so basically Satan tells God his plan. He tells him his plan, and I think that's really what we've been seeing in culture and with politicians is it becomes more and more apparent that they're telling us their plan. I mean,
they've been showing us on television, in TV commercials, in books, in movies. It's been right in front of our face. They have to show us. That's part of the rules.
Yeah. And then
but it's all twisted to make us think it means something else.
Yeah. I love the statement too on page 46. If Satan has to follow a set of rules, so must his followers, who are the sons of disobedience.
Right. It is said in Ephesians, Ephesians 2? No. Yes. Around Ephesians 2. It is said that Satan is the prince of the power of the air, and that Christians were once sons of disobedience, so the son of Satan, right?
Yeah.
As humans, but it's so interesting. I guess we can jump into this topic, but that people must show their allegiance to Satan. That's what you were talking about. And that's very prevalent in today's culture, today's media, everything that we consume with the singers, pop stars, even actors, they will show you. And these are things that have been said as conspiracy. But these are things that are biblical truths that we know of. And there's so many things that you could call coincidences, but how many coincidences are you gonna, continue to believe that it is such, and then start realizing that this is all part of a plan?
Right. Well, yeah. And I mean, before, I've been saying, I ever since I became a Christian, I always noticed that it's like, okay, everybody has a God, whether or not it's money or it's like what people think about you or what your car, your how many dates you get, whatever it is, people have gods. But what's becoming more apparent, like I just reposted that Madonna concert, and you were saying that there's plenty of like that.
Plenty of them.
But they were literally doing a ritual to Satan, and I think that's the heart of idolatry, is you are obedient to Satan at the end of the day.
Some of them are more obvious than others, but I've seen enough times and watched enough things to understand. There's a lot of great people who can walk you through understanding this. Of course, the Bible, but there's some great people who have been blessed with knowledge of studying this, and one of the people that I turn to is the Heaven and Healing podcast. This lady was used to be a new age kind of person, but she was saved, and she realized that Taylor Swift was her god, right? Before she was a Christian.
What a terrible god.
Yeah, I know. And she goes through explaining to people, young girls, that what her rituals look like on stage while she's performing in her Eras tour, right? And through the symbolism that you see in the serpents or the sort of witchy outfits, and it's so obvious. It's so apparent that you could tell. Yeah.
Look at all the horror films. If you go to stream something, what pops up?
Well, all the horror ones are all about rituals, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Symbolism and rituals, and
that gets difficult too, because okay, which one was the one where I think it's The Conjuring, where there's a biblical message at the end.
Yes. So
those are interesting.
The Conjuring ones have the priest come and do an exorcism on them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you watch the Holy Spirit totally destroy the demonic spirit.
Yeah, I haven't watched those, but I just know that. That's it.
Well, I do know that icons and symbols are just as active with the enemy's attacks as languages. And I mean, right now I have a Nike symbol on my head. After reading this book, it almost makes me wonder. There's probably something behind the Nike symbol too, but you have to understand what images what brands do you trust? We should really be questioning these things, because to trust a brand simply could just be repetition. You know, it's how do you build brand trust? You follow through. If you're Target, you make sure to just be a shopping store. You know, if you're a music center, or if you're Beats headphones, you know, you just make sure to just keep bringing headphones to the table. So that's how these brands build trust. But yeah, what is the messaging behind their, you know, who's designing it? What's their faith? You know, are they, is there messaging there that they are like slipping into our everyday lives so that we're building trust with satanic symbols, you know?
Exactly.
They're
pushing, they're pushing these things, making you think there's something that they're not.
Yeah. So I flipped my hat around. So now I'm not.
Hi, Michael.
No, but you know what,
Michael Jordan. I think it is Michael Jordan.
I did want to jump back into the fact that what we were just talking about, and how they're eroding God from the picture, and just going back into like how they're doing that through politics and what we see around us. Now, Tara, we did go to the GOP convention. Some of you may have seen those videos.
Yes.
And it's always very funny and interesting to go. I always find it sometimes amusing, but then sometimes gives me a headache because I'm just like, what is happening?
Never fails to be entertaining, though.
No, it never does. I always know by the time that they're going to be voting what to expect, and it's never been. It just yeah.
I'm going to be really honest here. I sat in a log cabin Republican meeting, and all of the chapter leaders, 10 of them, all gay, like flamboyantly gay. And I was like one of 4 women in the room. They didn't say a thing about women. They didn't say a thing about motherhood. They didn't say a thing about children. Their main topic was Pride Month. Now, I understand how people don't want the party to divide, but I really don't know what the future is for the GOP.
Right. Well, very interesting enough, we've seen that the Republican Party slowly inching closer to the left, with all the I guess, what are they called? They have certain words for
You mean
each
the
thing.
rhino thing?
The fake ones?
No. They have
David
they
doesn't
have
want us
a
to say that.
certain they have a certain name for it when they present something and all the delegates vote on it. They're different things too. There's I forget what the terminology for
You mean
it is.
you said delegates. You mean the propositions and stuff?
Propositions, but there's also initiatives, and there's different things that they vote on. But it's so interesting because you know, there's the debate that goes back and forth, and you hear the arguments, and everybody's, you know, everybody wants to voice their opinions, right? But it was very interesting to look over, and then I see the because I'm sitting in like the guest area, so I see the staff members are on the side, right? These are all the people who are working to put this thing together, and they're all for having what was it? Marriage equality, it was named. Yeah, it was named marriage equality. And it's such an interesting thing because we've seen this argument go around since they finally had the log cabin Republicans like approved, you know, officially as an organization. And it's so interesting to see the move away from the family, right, and God, the principles that they were founded on in the first place. But what's your take on this in light of reading the book?
It still all goes back to the laws of nature, and it's explained in the book very well, which I don't know what page it is right now, but you know, there's female chromosomes and male chromosomes, and that's it.
And that was early on in the book.
Yeah, that's early in here somewhere. So, you know, you're asking me, a Christian, what I think. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
That I didn't used to think that way, but after studying the Bible, not just reading it, but following a bookmark that gets me through the New Testament twice in a year and the Old Testament once in a year, I can't get it enough. I can't stop reading it. It's like amazing. Now I got to watch every single documentary about Jesus or any kind of religious, you know, television show or everything. I just, it brings it alive to me.
Yeah.
And to me, there's no time difference between what happened back then, you know, thousands of years ago with the you know,
Amalekites and the Philistines.
yes,
Philistines.
and what you know, the Israelites, I mean, how they went against God so many times, and he gave them so many chances. And
Yeah, it's such an interesting discussion today, actually.
he had to exercise his anger a few times. You know, God is not, he's an angry God. He's a loving God, but it's happening right now. The same things basically with, you know, the worship of the false idols and what you're talking about, the satanic stuff, and all of that kind of really ugliness is the same thing that was going on thousands of years ago. And God said, that's enough. Babylon, you're done.
Yeah.
Sodom and Gomorrah, you're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, then we get to the 4 horses of the apocalypse, which are in this book, which you just have to read.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Talking about how this is the same thing that happened, right? This is just a repeat. I mean, history does repeat itself, but it's really comforting to know that God is still the same.
Yeah.
He never changes,
No.
and he's been through this again. He's seen human nature, and of course we know how the story ends. But there's always so much things that we don't know right now that is discussed in Revelations, right? And how we can see different signs, right? Although we'll never know what time the end will come, or but we always know that there's different little things in the Bible for us to keep your eyes out for, keep a lookout for.
Right. Keep your lampstand lit and be ready at any moment. Could happen, you know, today, tomorrow, years from now. No one knows. But he does love us more than anything. We are his image. He is in us. And he wants us to love him back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the whole problem here is that they're trying to remove God from our culture.
Right.
In every facet. The schools, government, I mean, media, everywhere we turn. And that is the whole point of kind of the book. And it explains how that's being done.
Yeah.
When
Lucifer Zenith, look at the name.
Lucifer
when
Zenith.
we talk about the government itself, though, the government, what do they have to gain from this? Like, why even do that?
Money and control. I mean, you know, it's the root of all evil, right? It's power, money, and control over us.
Yeah.
Population control, enslavement of us. That's quite a bit to gain.
Well, you could even say, too, to go deeper
They don't believe in God.
Yeah.
Well,
They deny him. They are the sons of disobedience.
Now, does that mean, because we're slowly seeing the Republican Party shift, does that mean we are seeing people who are posing as Christians? And are we seeing them go into the Republican Party, you know, being a wolf,
right?
And going undercover? Are we seeing that now?
I think so, absolutely. And I have a real problem with, come voting time, these lists that are put out for recommendations on who to vote for, because a lot of them are those wolves in disguise, and they're saying that they're, you know, Christian, or they're promising things you think a Republican would want to hear, but they're not really who they say they are. And how do you discern that? How do you find this information out? It is really very difficult. This is where you've got to pray a lot.
Yeah.
And do your own homework.
Yeah.
Do your digging. Go and meet the candidates in person. Ask them, do they believe in God? Oh, you do? Which God?
Well,
Right.
and
see what their answer is.
That's true.
And put these hard questions to them and get to know them in person.
Yeah. And the beast is always changing disguises. He's always changing disguises. And that's the thing. Like, I want to share one thing I was talking to my pastor, his name is Pastor Scott. He was talking about a term he coined as echo effect, and it's so relevant because it is really the same thing. You know, we're seeing just the same. I mean, why does the enemy hate, you know, Christians? Well, the same reason that, you know, the pagans were trying to kill the Jews. You know,
Right.
like it's the same reason. It's because they hate who they represent, which is the body of Christ, and that's all fulfilled through Revelation. But you know, one interesting thing that happened over the weekend in San Francisco was we went. I look like a total butch. Okay, but one interesting thing that happened this weekend though was we went to the city of San Francisco, and it was clean. It was clean. I kid you not.
Really?
Every Republican there had signs that said, "Got public safety." Well, guess what? San Francisco, as far as the eye can see, they got public safety, okay? Now, it was completely shocking to me and the other politicians that were riding around in the car, because we were doing man on the street interviews, and Ellie, you were there too, doing man on the street. And it was really bizarre. Now, one could say, because, you know, then people started talking. They said, well, maybe they got it cleaned up because they knew the GOP was here. Maybe they got it cleaned up because of the recent things. Maybe they got it cleaned up because election season. Because really, the truth is, during the majority of Newsom's reign over California as governor, it has been a complete, filthy, horrid mess.
Right.
Okay, it has been.
Right.
So what? It took you this long to fix it? You mean you had the answer all along? You know, it raises all these different
There's a
questions.
reason behind it.
But this is what I mean by the beast is constantly changing its disguise. Is so I was with a candidate, and she was interviewing homeless people, and she was basically asking them, where are all the homeless people? Where's all the crime? I mean, they had robots that were on the street picking up trash. They had security guards on every corner guarding smash and grabs. I mean, they had their crap down, okay? Like, they did. You didn't see, there were no tent cities.
Yeah.
So we all start researching it. Well, what they're doing is they're definitely containing the problem. They're probably putting fences around the tent encampment, so out of sight, out of mind, right? Now, the public is safe. The Suburbans are safe. The shopkeepers are safe. But it's fascinating because now you have this new problem of, and one could debate, well, as long as the homeless people are out of sight, they're out of mind, I'm fine. I don't care. You know, as long as they're not smashing my stuff, that's fine. But through one of the interesting interviews, and I'd love to repost it later, but the guy was saying, yeah, so he showed us the needles that the shelters have been giving him every day. He told us that they give him 4 doses of opiates. 4 doses of opiates every day when you're 35, you know, to age 45, you're going to be dead. Your liver is going to fail with that much, and especially if they're adjusting the dosage to make it so it's actually effective. So it's like, so what's the solution? What, are you going to use eugenics to wipe out all these homeless tweakers? And how many people are going to be pulled into that who weren't even a part of that? But you're enabling them, you're providing it. So it is fascinating. And I think we're seeing that again because, you know, that's why it's important that we always stay alert. We have to face the truth even when we don't want to. I think seeing the city that clean was a little disappointing for some Republicans because they were going, I guess Newsom did it. But it's like, he is... Okay, it seems to be happening, but my question is, at what cost? And my other question is, what took you so long? Because for the it does make it seem like, oh, this is campaign season, time to clean up the city.
Right. Who really did it? I mean, who's really behind it?
That's
and
a good
why?
question, too.
Yeah.
But their tactics to doing it also seem kind of disturbing. I mean, killing the homeless people, is that really what the solution is? Is that our only solution? So those are just some interesting things.
That's an interesting point, actually. Yeah. Talking about eugenics and things like that, we have seen all of our food being slowly poisoning us, right?
Oh, yes.
We see things like that, the homeless, right? We see so many different things of, it makes you question, well, does the people in charge really care about our best interests, right? But how does that tie into, like, does that even tie into what the book is talking about? Like,
yes, population control has a lot to do with it. In fact, wasn't it Klaus Schwab who said that, you know, the head of the WHO, he was talking about reducing the population and how much better off the planet would be, and
Well, how do you think that works in their favor?
Because they don't have to feed us, we don't have to provide for us. They can use us as slaves to do what they want with. That's the whole thing behind these 15-minute cities. You know about those, right?
No, what are those?
What are those? Yeah, I was about to ask.
Well, they're kind of goes back to the fires. How many fires there have been, these wildfires. Record number, more than any in the history of California within the last just few years. Burning farmland, burning people's homes down, and people losing their homes because their land has been sold to foreign entities right out from under them. It's in there, and it goes on and on about it, but the fires, where was I going with that?
The 15-minute cities.
Yes. So if you notice these buildings that are going up all over the place that are not very attractive.
The brutalist style?
Yeah. There's like no architecture to them or whatever. So it's all tied into controlling people so that they don't have to go anywhere outside of 15 minutes to go shopping or whatever, but it's all tied into the grand plan of control, which is the mark of the beast.
Interesting.
CBDCs, the implantation of a chip to control you.
You mentioned 15 minutes of like I guess either distance, right, to shop. That reminds me of the where is it in the Middle East where they're trying to make a whole entire stretch of land building upwards, and it's like this giant mirror to the desert on both sides, but everything is within like 5-minute walking distance or something like that. Crazy. Like there's hospital, schools, doctors, working places, shopping, your home, and it's on this little sliver of land, but it's a huge, long, vast area that they take up, and they've already destroyed like 3 villages, I think, just so they're able to get this land. But that does remind me of the same concept.
Sure.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Now, that's global. It's not just here.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about why they want to do this, and whether or not it's like the money or the control. I really just think it's to fulfill Satan's plan. They're sons of disobedience.
Well, the question goes is these lower level people, you could say, regular politicians, from day-to-day stuff, who are still doing these things, do they really know the plan behind it? I really wouldn't think so. Not everybody. Would they?
Say that again, sorry.
So, like, lower level politicians, just local city level stuff, people who are putting out this agenda, they wouldn't know what they're really doing.
I think that there are some that are pure of heart and have good intentions, of course. But for the most part, I'm sad to say that I don't think so. I think that most of them are quite aware of the plan.
Yeah. Plus, beware of innocence, Yeah. Because innocence does not mean the presence of good.
Right, but then that also means, like, how many people do you know that know about this, right? Well, not necessarily personally know, but, politicians that you may see who look very unalarming at first.
But they don't want to hear it. I mean, there's so many people that just don't want to know. People don't want to do their homework. They don't want to read a book. They don't want to know. They'd rather go to the ball game. They'd rather watch television or go to a movie or, live life or be on TikTok, scroll Facebook, whatever. But to get involved and really understand what's going on right in front of us, takes a special kind of person,
right?
And we're in badly need of right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that reminds me of the verse that ignorance is bliss.
Right.
Yeah.
There you
and
go.
And stagnation is comfortable too. So people don't like change, especially nervous people. And I mean, look at how many nervous people we have. Gen Z is the highest generation to have anxiety and just all these crazy things. I mean, what were you saying too about Gen Z? Karen, can you share?
Yes. Did you know that Gen Z is the largest population, the largest generation on the planet right now. So you guys and your children can have the biggest impact if you stand up and you get involved and you do your homework and you take action.
Well, absolutely. And that's why this book, and I love to see all you guys hopping on right now. Lucifer Zenith, look it up on Amazon.
Yes.
Man, what a page turner. What a way to really be informed about what's happening and how our Constitution is really being violated. I really encourage you. Don't be stagnant. Don't be apathetic. Don't get too comfortable not moving.
Mark it up.
So
yes,
just like the Bible.
Yes,
you know what? I actually want to bring in. So I was reading a historical novel, and it goes over how the government hired German officials, well, Nazis, after the Second World War to have them work over here. Obviously, we had Operation Paperclip. Another thing was Operation Bluebird, which was learning if you could split the mind and have control over people. And it's a very interesting thing. You can search this up. I was learning all about this because the historical novel, after reading the whole entire novel, is fantastic. But the author goes into detail about all that we know of this Project Bluebird. You don't know much though, because all of the files have mysteriously been burned, right? Gone missing. But it's also highly redacted, the one information that we have. And the only thing that we know from this is that they've made advancements, but we don't know what that means. There's so many different things, gray areas that we don't know what happened, right? But that also, Operation Bluebird changed its name, and I forgot what the name was, and then it changed its name again to MK Ultra, which is something that the CIA had a hold of. So that's very interesting, and I'm pretty sure that ties into what you're saying as well with mass control of people, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what this is all about.
Yeah, controlling people so you could push your narrative, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's such an interesting thing. How a lot of things do tie in after thinking about it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, but it's actually quite frightening.
As a watcher on the wall, I cannot in good conscience do nothing with the knowledge that has been revealed to me by the Holy Spirit. I cannot in good conscience let the people fall prey to the heinous depravity instituted by those representatives engaging in government defecation. I must. It is my duty to sound the alarm. That was Daniel Mercury talking about his motive really behind this book, sounding the alarm, being a bystander, being an educated viewer, an educated citizen, and saying, I can't let people be taken advantage of like this anymore. This is not what the Constitution gave to us.
There's just so much more in the book that we didn't even get to, like the oath of office,
right?
And how our elected officials, the oath is defunct and illegal. That's a whole big chapter that needs to be read and understood, because that's where you guys, your generation, well, we can too, I can too, but step in and actually do something about. It would take a really long time, and we have to go through all the proper channels. Right. But
it's worth it.
To prevent a bloodshed, there are steps that we can take. But people have to be willing to stand up and have the courage and the strength. Well, freedom, requires honorable sacrifice. So when George Washington crossed the Delaware in frozen ice and snow, and it took him I don't know how, 5 hours, or should have only taken an hour, and they couldn't see, and the militia had no shoes, some of them. They had rags and cardboard, and they had to walk down march down this road to face the enemy, to fight tyranny, and they left a trail of blood. It's called a trail of blood. Those people were willing to die and face the worst of the worst to fight for what we have enjoyed, or I've enjoyed as a baby boomer, living America, having all the freedoms, and being able to do what I've been able to do is just remarkable. But to think that it could all come crashing down soon because of these crimes and what's happening, and to understand this book is incredibly crucial. Is it worth one more fight to save America, to save your freedoms? That's what you have to ask yourself, right?
Yeah.
Now, you did talk about some steps that you could do. What are those?
Well, getting involved, we have to, like, let's talk about voting for one thing. Did you know that only 50% of the people who registered to vote actually voted in 2022?
It's disheartening.
No, it is, because that's one of our rights and our voices.
But I think even drawing in the Christians to this, many Christians don't want to get involved in politics because they believe God will, everything will just play out,
yes, right?
What is the reason that Christians should be involved?
Because we've always been able to help ourselves and help God help us. If we pray to Him in earnestly with our hearts and souls and minds, He will answer us and He will help us. If it's the right door that we're to go through, or, like us being here talking about this, was this just coincidence? Or was it something that God brought together because we can share truth to people? So getting active or staying inactive is lazy and wrong in my book.
Yeah.
I think that's a really lazy answer. Oh, let God take care of it. Everything, it's all up to God. Well, you have to help Him. I mean, you can't control Him. He's going to do what He wants to do, but He will help you if what you're doing is righteous.
Yeah.
Right.
And if preserving our freedom is righteous and bringing God's law back into this country and bringing God back, you think He wants us to help Him do that? I kind of do, but what do I know?
Yeah, that's so true. Being stagnant. I mean, think about like the book of Deuteronomy. That was a time when God sent out soldiers and said, "You guys have to have faith that you are going to win, and you're going to go into this battle, and you're going to be taking your land back, and you have to have faith in me that you are going to win." And I think that's a good attitude to have right now, especially for Gen Z. I mean, getting a book like Lucifer's Zenith, reading it, educating yourself on the Constitution, you are now a soldier. And if you have Christ, if you can march forward with Christ and you can be a leader among your peers. I mean, how do we know that that's not exactly what God is telling most of us to do as Gen Z?
Right. Well, we have to understand the law. We have to understand the Constitution, both federal and state. If you don't know the law, then how can you talk about it? How can you confront, your elected officials? So it's a big task, but you have to educate yourself. There's getting involved is really, it's so beyond crucial because the time is really running out.
We have a question in the comments saying clarification, was Daniel Mercury dishonorably discharged or honorably discharged?
Did I say dishonorably?
I don't know if it was one of us, but
I'm so sorry, Daniel, if you're watching.
It is right here on his
Honorable.
book too. Here's the description. Daniel Mercury is a Southern California native, honorably discharged U.S. naval veteran, former political candidate, and constitutionalist.
Thank you for that correction.
Oh yes, thank you guys. You guys have been awesome tonight.
Thank you so much. That was a big boo-boo on my part.
That's all right. I mean, everybody makes mistakes. So
you don't even do it.
It's okay.
But people need to stand up, speak up, find their courage, know the law, and educate themselves. The steps that they can take are pretty daunting, but number one, pray about it.
Yes.
Always
Number one,
thing.
pray about it and learn, read Mr. Mercury's book, read the Constitution.
Study the Bible.
Study the Bible because...
Yeah.
So important.
I heard a sermon the other day where this guy said, read the Bible until it's like you're looking in a mirror every day. Yeah. And he was especially talking to women because you know how we are. We look in the mirror like every 5 minutes.
Right.
Look in the mirror on the way out the house. Look in the mirror when we get in the car. Oh, my goodness.
Our forefathers put into the Declaration of Independence that whenever any form of government becomes destructive, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute a new form of government. So there's that. But we have to understand that to do that, it takes process. Right? You have to do it lawfully and legally and take all the steps. But you got to do it now.
Yeah.
Because time's running out.
Yeah, and you have to educate your peers and you have to bring Christ with you because
absolutely every step of the way.
The last thing you want to be doing is arguing with your neighbor, with your best friend, about what this country is supposed to be. So, Ellie, you want to wrap us up here?
Yes. Okay, this has been such an insightful conversation. Of course, we could go into depth about so much more things, but it's just been a pleasure to have you on and discuss as much as we could have.
Thank you. It's been great being here. There's a lot more we could talk about.
We would love to have you back.
Let's let people buy the book and be surprised.
Yes.
Well, but how'd you like the boba? Was it okay?
Yeah, it was very interesting. Those chewy things really threw me, though. I was not expecting that.
It's a good surprise. It's
delicious.
Oh,
thank you so much for a new experience in my life.
I look like a butch. I gotta take my hat off.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Please make sure to hit the thumbs up if you're on YouTube or just like whatever this is on. But yeah, just thank you so much for joining us. Just make sure to check out all of our social medias. Just search up 180 Shift. You should find us everywhere. Twitter, whatever, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Y'all know what it is. What's it up?
And also, don't forget to check out Lucifer Zenith by Daniel Mercury. Here's the cover so you can recognize it on Amazon.
Also not sponsored at all.
It's not sponsored. I just like it. Look, you can tell that I've been reading it.
No, I also wanted to say that the audio version will be coming out very soon. It's almost done. So there will also be an audiobook. So for those of you who drive, you don't have time to read, you can listen to it in your car.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us. And I think that one of your friends is even in the comment section. Stephen D.
Hi, Stephen.
We love to have you guys here, but join us when we start. Because we always get the most views when we're ending.
Yes. Okay, well, catch us next week at